Nine swung his sword left and right, searching for an opening to wound Yuten, until he finally managed to graze its head on the left eye. He sneered at Yuten, who wasn't surprised at all by his attack. In that case, he would use beginner red magic, explosive firebolt, and was curious about its reaction. Of course, it was shocking for Alice and Amelia, who were watching, because Yuten could regenerate quickly. However, Nine seemed even more excited upon realizing that this monster was the real Yuten. His lips grinned widely, revealing his teeth, because that meant this creature was worth a tremendous amount of experience points. Yuten had truly transformed into another form, and Nine looked even happier. Alice and Amelia shuddered in horror. They weren't sure if this was the current IX Bandle. It was completely the opposite of the IX they used to know. Amelia covered her mouth in shock as she saw Nina's sword break and the young man get flung away. The son of the Knight Commander had already anticipated that a secret boss-class monster wouldn't be defeated that easily. Blood was gushing from his head, flowing past his eye, cheek, and into his mouth. But Nine just laughed happily. If we're talking about reincarnation, it should be about crushing villains, accidentally building a harem, and living the best life possible. That's practically undeniable and true. At Khalid Lily Academia, a fantasy action game set in an academy, it's famous for its many branching paths and various endings. No matter which route you choose, the one who always blocks the protagonist's path is the useless trash villain, Nine Bandle, the eldest son of a noble family. The son of the Knight Commander who guards the royal capital. He abuses his position to commit atrocities, and his fate is already sealed, death. After enrolling in the academy, he's guaranteed to be killed by the protagonists. However, about a week ago, a young man reincarnated into that loser. There are 3 years left until academy enrollment, which is when the game begins. Nine, still in bed and wrapped in his blanket, calls his servant. If he told Silesia that he would be killed someday, would she believe him? The 12-year-old family servant, who was pouring a drink into a cup, turned around and nodded affirmatively. He pondered everything with a thinking expression, placing the space between his thumb and index finger like a gun against his chin. Silesia, who calls herself a super beautiful maid, gave her assessment with a thumbs up, but then she moved her thumb across her neck as if slitting it, complete with a supporting expression with her tongue sticking out. Nine himself had already expected that. Even Silesia, sitting on the sofa in the room, admitted it. The young man had publicly humiliated a lower-ranking noble. There was the completely failed marriage proposal incident with a marquis's daughter, and the pinnacle achievement, splashing water on the saint herself. All the cases the woman listed felt like blades stabbing his body. However, Silesia realized that Nine had changed a lot recently. Maybe his chances of being stabbed from the front had decreased. She asked the young man to explain to her, who lacked knowledge, the possibility of Nine not being killed. Then she suggested it would be better to obediently apologize right away. IX clenched his fists under the blanket because it was already too late to apologize, especially since the truly dangerous ones were the saints of the mildest religion. He bounced on the bed like a ball because he had already angered too many other dangerous people. His fate was truly sealed. If it was a saint, Silesia thought they would definitely forgive him if Nine apologized. However, the young man angrily cut her off, causing the blanket wrapped around his body to unravel as he said they clearly still held a grudge. Besides, they had immense magical power for healing and attacks, could attack, defend, support, and led the largest number of followers on the continent. Ix asked what he should do against monsters like that. He was truly done for. Everything was over. He screamed at his god of the mildest religion, cursing it for being too cruel. His limp body flopped face down on the bed. After thinking that he had finally arrived in this world, the game world, one he had played until he was bored. Suddenly, something crossed his mind because he actually knew how to get strong, who was dangerous, and where their weaknesses were. If he could become strong enough that no one could kill Nine, that's all he needed. In that case, he would train desperately before entering the academy. His resolve was firm. He shouted his plan to become the strongest villain. Silesia, seeing her master's expression change from fear to burning enthusiasm, teased him by saying Nine had truly lost his sanity. Nine's shout stopped as he stared at the spark of fire in his palm, wondering if this was really all he could do. It was only the size of a bean. However, his palm started burning hot, making his gaze shift backward. Nine immediately ran out of the room with his body on fire. Meanwhile, Silesia sauntered away leisurely, saying that tonight's dinner seemed to be a whole roasted pig, while rubbing her rumbling stomach. Near the Bandal territory, in the Black Fir Forest. To gain experience points, 9 planned to hunt monsters. A monster had put up its guard in front of him. 9, ready in his armor and sword, said that to get strong quickly, defeating strong monsters was the best way. Silesia, carrying a sack of supplies on her back, sneered because the monster her master was facing was actually small. The small monster barked, challenging the plump young hero's soul. He couldn't be afraid of it if he wanted to become the strongest villain. However, it didn't take long for the monster to defeat him. Silesia just watched silently while laughing. There were no exploits to level up in this game. Stats only increased through continuous battles. 9 grabbed his sword again and used it as a support to stand. If he kept fighting, he could get strong too. Silesia was stunned to see 9 finally take down the monster. Unfortunately, it didn't lose and chased Ix for revenge. Silesia pinched the bridge of her nose, dizzy from seeing her master causing a commotion again, which meant it was the 7th time this month. 1 year later, people were talking about how 9 had changed recently. As the son of the Knight Commander, he should show some self-control, as this contradicted Mila's teachings. They were sure it was the influence of demons, though some didn't care, as long as it didn't mean extra work. They were sure it must be fun not having to gather with others. They just hoped 9 behaved well today. Suddenly, Silesia passed by, carrying wood on her right shoulder and dragging it with her left hand. They teased the girl who had truly endured as Nina's personal maid. The girl kept walking to the wood-cutting area without paying them any mind and delivered the last load of wood for the day. After unloading it, she heard someone groaning as they emerged from the fire. The person with charred cloth scraps covering their entire body, including their face, came over thanking Silesia, as usual. Silesia peeked into the fire pit because it seemed her master entered it every day. Silesia then reported some strange rumors circulating. Meanwhile, the person she was talking to casually unwrapped the cloth from his head, not caring about the gossip. It was 9, with a slimmer body version, and that's how he got stronger. However, he mentioned the towel Silesia prepared and praised her for being so thorough. The girl just sighed and complained about the heat while wiping sweat from her cheek with her towel. The young man got annoyed because apparently the towel wasn't for him. In the end, Silesia still gave him the towel. She admitted this training was truly effective. She knew because with the sauna diet, his weight had dropped nicely. Silesia said that with both hands forming guns, pointing at her master. 9 laughed while pressing his chin with thumbs and index fingers on both cheeks, admitting it, especially around the face. However, that wasn't what he meant, making Silesia cross her arms and watch. He then showed his index finger that could produce fire. Blazing fire. Compared to before, this fire lasted only a few seconds. Silesia just smiled amusedly seeing the young man jumping around in delight. There are 7 basic types of magic: red, blue, green, yellow, purple, black, white, and they have levels. Beginner, intermediate, advanced, and super. How far one can go depends on talent. Even adults celebrate reaching advanced levels. Only a handful on the continent reach super level. The young man's affinity is red fire magic. Ix produced fire from his index finger again, swinging it. He then asked about that female saint earlier, emphasizing that this was his talent, while Silesia was still recalling the saint her master was asking about. However, the girl didn't give an answer until the end, making Nina's expression disappointed. Silesia reminded him that at tonight's party, the female saint would attend, begging 9 to prepare quickly. 9 was shocked because Silesia was telling him on the day of the event. The maid girl reasoned that otherwise, 9 would run away. Unfortunately, the young man knew Silesia had just forgotten to tell him. Silesia also explained that this wasn't the same Saint Ix had splashed water on. Besides, it was just a casual social gathering. However, for the young man, this was too soon toward despair. He should be safe until academy enrollment, but 9 suspected he had taken the wrong path. In his imagination, the saint was like a monster ready to attack him in full rage. Silesia promised to apologize properly. Ix immediately gave a thumbs up because after that, he left everything to his maid. Silesia immediately became alert. Apparently, 9 really intended to flee to the slaughter country. Seeing the towel still around Nina's neck, she knew it would burn. Sure enough, as soon as the young man entered the fire, the towel caught fire and burned his face too. Silesia ran when she heard her master cry for help. She grabbed a bucket of water nearby and doused Nina's head until the bucket got stuck on it. She massaged his forehead while saying she was going shopping. 9, sprawled with the bucket still on his head, asked if she would be okay alone. Silesia turned around, saying this was easier than babysitting. Besides, someone had reduced the number of monsters on the highway. 9, now sitting, claimed he didn't care, while the maid sneaked away. The young man also felt it was unnecessary worry. This should be the wrong path, but what was more annoying was that the bucket on his head couldn't be removed. In the Bendel plantation, the capital of the Kingdom Azabine, Veneria Kingdom, Silesia walked humming while gripping her sword. Everything had changed. Memories of when 9 suddenly stopped beating her flashed by. Her master had trained with the Night Uncles, learned with the older Witch Sisters. With the daily running routine together, little by little, the distance between Silesia and 9 narrowed. And even when going out and leaving 9, the girl was no longer scolded. Changes like that made her happy. The old master had changed into the current IX. But Silesia herself hadn't changed. Even if others were trash or scoundrels, it didn't matter. She was a sword. From the day she trained with 9 until the young man was exhausted, coinciding with the day she was picked up. Suddenly, she smelled something, the scent of someone's approach. Sure enough, a group of people had surrounded her in front, halting her steps. Apparently, they were heading to the party and asked to be shown the way. A carriage carried by a flying dragon passed over the plantation toward the Bandel family residence. Someone announced that the female saint from the Milas Church had arrived and ordered all knights to line up. All the knights obeyed, while 9, peeking from behind the window, screamed in fear, especially when the saint descended from the carriage. Everyone immediately saluted Saint Emilia. 9 collapsed backward, thrashing because this was too soon from his expectations. He hadn't finished training yet. 2 maids who happened to pass by turned around hearing their master's voice. They were even surprised to see IX doing a bridge while screaming. Suddenly, his pupils glowed like fire as a decision was made. This wasn't entirely according to plan, but if that's how it was, he would barricade himself inside. 9, wrapped in a blanket like a cocoon, claimed he knew nothing about this incident. He started to understand what Silesia meant by preparation when he saw a robe. Social gathering, saint shopping trip. 9 laughed while holding the robe, but he felt something was happening in the game. His expression turned anxious with the possibility that this was what they called a bad feeling. The group surrounding Silesia in the Bendel area was quite shocked by the sudden attack, even though there were 8 of them. In the game, the only reason IX, the useless trash villain, could block the protagonist's path was one thing: his personal maid, Silesia. Because to 9, that girl was the strongest sword. Proven, Silesia fought the 8 with great skill. Blessed with sword talent, her ability was sometimes the biggest obstacle, sometimes even the final boss, blocking the protagonist's path. But that was still far in the future. After successfully escaping, Silesia looked back, hearing the sound of water. Sure enough, an unexpected attack made her flung away. Silesia roared in pain. A man then appeared and said that even if talented, the girl lacked experience. Silesia should have been suspicious of a trap first. That's why she was so easy to trip. Seeing Silesia, the man said he was reminded of his childhood when he was the girl's age. Meanwhile, Silesia panicked more as water droplets began swirling, drowning her. She considered it useless talk. For now, the Daorez leader ordered his friends to make 9 reveal that security intelligence info immediately. After toying with Silesia with his water, he clenched his fist, flinging the girl back. Anyone who could move was ordered to clean up the battle traces and blood. After the operation, 9 would be monster food. They would use nearby monsters as distractions, so they would chop up Nina's body and scatter the parts. That's exactly how 9 did it. The man turned while waving his hand, lifting Silesia's body still submerged in the water blob. The Daorez group's intent was to kill the cursed saint. Silesia opened her mouth but couldn't speak. Her hands reached upward. However, there shouldn't be anything. There shouldn't be memories suddenly flashing in Silesia's mind at times like this. Memories from before her master changed. When Ix ordered her to teach swordsmanship, and she did. Then he kicked Silesia, saying her teaching was bad, and it didn't even last a day. Until one day, 9 asked Silesia to give him one more chance. So Silesia beat him. Beat him black and blue. It was a hassle. Day after day, when she realized it had gone on for days. The girl glared, recalling when 9 apologized and asked about her condition. Seeing her reaction, Nine also asked if there was something on his face. Of course, Silesia couldn't hold back her laughter seeing Nina's swollen cheeks with pouty lips. The man with stitches right under his left, I said it was time. First, he hoped for a broken finger. His foot moved to step on Silesia's hand to wake her. But suddenly, a monster appeared, startling everyone. The man wondered what kind of magic this was, whether from the Knight Commander or Church Knights. To him, this was impossible. His reckless plan couldn't have leaked. The giant monster barked right in front of the Daorez leader's head, as if ready to swallow him alive. This was too terrifying. It was a bad omen. The monster then exploded violently, flinging those without protection. It transformed into Nine, who immediately greeted Silesia and asked his maid to comment on his outfit. Silesia, crawling and looking up, called her master. Those watching realized that with that appearance, the sudden arrival was the Knight Commander's sole son. They heard Nine was a fool, hated by other nobles, had no friends and no talent. He was a fated former star. They also knew Nine fled from the saint, but didn't know what he did, cursing him as a coward. Instantly, Nine staggered, as those two men's words stabbed his body like swords. Silesia stood while telling her master to retreat, but her foot was sprained. She fell, luckily. Nine quickly caught her body. The young man remembered an event where the saint was attacked before the main story started. In the game, they were just ordinary bandits, but now they were the Daorez Corps, a cult group teaching non-existence of God and opposing Nihilist faith. Daorez was the main enemy faction in the saint route of the game. They were surprised how the spoiled noble kid knew the name Daorez. Nine was quite shocked as they immediately moved to surround them. Silesia immediately suggested using high-level candle flame magic skill, making Nine tell her to calm down. He confidently said he was stronger. Magic has levels: beginner, intermediate, advanced, and super. The higher the rank, the larger the spell's scale. With consistent effort, the rank one can achieve increases. However, ultimately, talent is key, and Nine had no talent. So, he used the protagonist's dangerous trick, exposing the body to the element aligned with the magic to strengthen. Nina's affinity is red, the element fire, meaning by burning his body in blazing fire, he surpassed his own talent. This method, pure torture, raised Nina's magic level, which initially couldn't even reach beginner, to the current point. Silesia, in her master's embrace, panicked seeing fire surrounding them. She couldn't believe Nine had reached advanced level. Advanced color magic, primary magic, manifests soul armament. A fire giant appeared. A monster emerged from the raging fire, barking at its enemies. Its power was enough to turn someone to ash in an instant. Of course, the Daorez Corps panicked facing it. Its leader flew into the air and used his water magic. Meanwhile, Ix told them to just run. The man insisted he understand. The one he sought was at the party. The trash female saint who didn't heal all of Daorez Corps' wounds. An explosion occurred. Proudly, he said he had destroyed the smug face of Nina's monster. However, his eyes bulged as the monster reformed intact. Many things were happening. The man with stitches under his left eye gaped in disbelief, seeing Nina's left eye blazing with fire. The young man couldn't forgive those who touched his maid, and of course, they had to pay. After the explosion that annihilated the entire Daorez Corps, Silesia asked why her master saved her. Nine, who was crossing his arms, grinned, then carried the girl while saying the reason was to show her what he could do. He wanted at least one person who wouldn't try to kill him out of fear. Silesia just held onto his shoulder until she realized Ix was struggling to carry her, so she pressed closer to his back and placed her chin on his shoulder. Reasons like bad premonition or worry. Those words didn't suit Nine. The young man admitted he couldn't ignore someone right in front of him who needed help. Silesia fell silent, giving only a smile. Ix walked carrying the girl amid the scattered burned corpses, until he realized Silesia had fallen soundly asleep. Nine hated being underestimated. In this world, he would show his obsession with Silesia. An explosion occurred at an ancient castle in the sky. Silesia, standing not far from the building, watched it with her hand shading her eyes for a better view. 1 year later, she complained because Nine said he would get stronger. Her steps headed toward the fallen giant dragon monster, where Nine sat on its horn. The young man confidently said he would get even stronger. He didn't want Silesia to think people could kill him, no matter who they were. Silesia admitted her master had truly changed. Ix stood on the horn and said this was the result of obsession. The horn broke, making the young man fall flat. Silesia winced too because 9 probably hadn't changed in important ways. 2 women were discussing the hero blessed by goddess Mylist, who slayed the demon king with his shining silver sword. It was a fairy tale known to everyone who played the game. All knights seemed to love that hero. Saint Emilia admitted she often pondered what the hero was really like and was sure he was a very strong, ordinary man. It's been 2 years since the young man reincarnated as Ix. The man fated to be killed by heroes, training so the female heroes couldn't kill him. Now he was at a party celebrating the Knight Order's birthday, hosted by his family, the Bandals. He stood alone in the corner, feeling lonely and too embarrassed to join the party. He remembered Silesia's serious expression, saying there wouldn't be any saints at today's party, especially when she said she'd be scolded if Ix didn't come. So, the young man came because he said none of the female heroes would be here, but it was indeed so, making him want to cry. It's true, 9 was previously very hated. 9 jumped when he heard someone's storytelling surrounded by people, saying the hero's evil heart was changed by true love from his beloved maid. But his enemies were very evil and attacked his beloved maid. Hearing that made 9 massage his head because he seemed to recognize the voice. However, the hero skillfully used his fire sword to finish them off and save his maid. When about to reveal what the hero said after that, 9 sighed, asking what the girl was doing. Silesia reenacted when 9 forbade the villains from touching his woman. Instantly, the audience squealed in delight. Saint Emilia begged Silesia to explain what happened to the hero and maid. She was curious because her heart was pounding hearing this story. This time 9, who couldn't take it anymore, really shouted, asking what his maid was doing. Silesia immediately looked at him. She hurried down from the stage while disdainful glares pierced Ix. Because of Nina's previous insults, the other nobles' gazes turned very cold. This was difficult in its own way. Once Silesia was in front of him, he couldn't believe the girl was doing things like this. Meanwhile, Emilia was still chasing the answer about what happened next. But Silesia ignored her. The maid girl said no one cared, but she saw her master chose to attend the party. Ix said if only there was no saint here. Emilia started to feel disappointed because her curiosity wasn't answered, even when she asked again. This time, 9 was speechless seeing Emilia, especially when the saint greeted him. The daughter of Marquis Carmine, beside her, also mentioned the water incident. 9 was even more cornered. No mistake possible. The Mylist saint, Emilia Garrett. She had received the goddess's blessing and could perform great healing magic. Meanwhile, Marquis Carmine's daughter, Alice Carmine. Marquis Carmine operated the largest company on the entire Argasto continent, so Alice had connections with many world leaders. Depending on the chosen path in the game, these heroines really gave 9 trouble. He had also had some issues with these 2 heroines in the past. Sweat uncontrollably flooded his body. From the fear up to his crown, 9 chose to flee. Alice was annoyed because 9 was still noisy as usual. Hearing that made Emilia turn and say she liked it here. This place had the continent's largest Knight Order, and the future hero might be here now. Alice agreed. A throat-clearing sound diverted Emilia and Alice's attention. A woman flanked by 2 men apologized as a candidate captain. She knew this wasn't a meaningful apology, but she offered if they wanted to join today's hunt. In the Bandal Knight Order, there were only children and muscular people, and Emilia guessed they were adventurers with cute, stupid expressions. Saint Emilia had been splashed with water by Ix. She was a Mylist sect saint, the faith with the largest followers on the continent. She could be said to be born with magical healing abilities and had more authority than any king. Even so, Emilia remained neutral in everything, and that was for one reason. She was one of the key girls chosen by this world's goddess, Mylist. The female saint was blessed by the goddess. If something happened to her, there would be conflict between this kingdom and the Mylist church. Bloodshed that would claim many lives. Even knowing this, 9 still made the mistake. Ix reached a river. He sat on the bank leaning on his sword and mirrored in the water. His reflection said the young man had caused too many problems. Even trying to build good relations now would be futile. Whatever 9 did, his fate was sealed. He cried while blurring his reflection in the water with his sword. 9 would cause trouble and die. That happened in every game route, and he only had half a year until the main game story started at the academy. He didn't really care about the game's scenario, but knowing his life was only 1 to 3 years left. He stared at the sky, then bowed while cursing. After standing, 9 noticed the arrival of the frozen corpse ruler impaled Foglanil, a four-legged monster with horns lined from head to tail on both sides of its body. Ix didn't want to die in this fun world. So, he drew his sword from its sheath while apologizing, but the monster would be his meal for the day. However, the monster suddenly veered away and left, confusing Ix. Apparently, someone had come. Silesia, suddenly appearing behind 9, said the monster seemed trembling in fear, making the young man unaware when his mate arrived. If a strong monster was fleeing, Silesia urged 9 to hurry and run. Emilia and Alice shouted, asking who was in front of them. Both came riding tandem on a monster. 9 froze as they passed. Even Emilia looked panicked, saying they needed to get away from here because they had been found by a very strong monster. Suddenly, Alice said she would drop Emilia off soon by kicking her. Instantly, the saint panicked, as did 9. Ix was still trying to process what happened, but his feet rushed to catch a falling man toward him. Meanwhile, Alice also tumbled. He remembered this event from his past life, but before that, he had done things the original Ix never did. This happened before the game story started, so he didn't think it would have much impact on the plot. However, the scenario seemed to have changed more than imaginable. 9 and Silesia were shocked realizing the arrival of the saint-eating monster named Jotun. It was a secret boss. This boss was infamous for making many players give up defeating it. This monster had high attack power and relentlessly pursued saint-class characters. In the game's second half, the chance of appearing was low if on the holy route. Ix thought the beast was lured here by the saint. Meanwhile, Silesia busily unpacked her supply bag. It appeared far before the match started. He didn't know what was happening, but Silesia told him to wait a bit. 9 immediately asked what she was going to do. Silesia admitted she was tending to the injured and fallen people. Besides, she was quite sure the sword she chose was sturdier. Silesia handed the sword to 9 because she knew her master would definitely save them. The young man reasoned for experience points, so he would do it. Because of that, and this would be a good test for his power, that's all. Emilia, terrified, asked about Alice, who protected her, making Marquis Carmine's daughter retort. Meanwhile, in front of them, Jotun was on guard staring at its prey. The saint turned her face away. She admitted fault and apologized, but Alice didn't need it, and it was fine. Alice stood while raising her sword. She swore to protect her saint while pointing at the monster. That was wrong. A saint shouldn't just be protected. Jotun began moving, leaving Emilia speechless. She should be called a saint because they have power. Daytime when Emilia healed people without hesitation, nighttime memorizing all the holy verses she could. It was a lot of work, but not as hard as slaying the Demon King like in the hero legend. Her favorite part was the beginning of the story, when the hero appeared before Saint Cunelia, where the hero extended his hand, claiming he needed the saint for the world-saving mission, so he asked Cunelia to join him. Of course, Emilia knew someone like that wouldn't appear before her, but at least she had Alice, who listened even if annoyed. Also, this world was filled with all kinds of people, liked and disliked, and even knowing people she couldn't save. But Emilia believed in the power given to her, so one day she could save everyone. Alice was shocked to see Emilia stand and step past her, extending both hands and casting intermediate white holy magic, radiant holy ring Remasupero. A saint spirit appeared behind Emilia's body. Instantly, Jotun grew more excited to attack her. Unfortunately, her current combat ability was still too weak. Luckily, when she opened her eyes, she was shocked to see a giant fire monster holding back Jotun. Suddenly, 9 arrived, saying how beautiful the sight was. The young man walked forward, passing Alice and Emilia, not forgetting to compliment the saint's jewelry and claiming he liked it. 9 turned, saying he would welcome such a feast anytime. Emilia gaped in disbelief, seeing 9 Bandel as a different person, and asked why the young man didn't flee. Ix retracted his monster with his left hand. The appetizer wasn't tasty and made him back away, but the monster in front seemed like a delicious main course. So, no reason for 9 to run. He enthusiastically drew his sword while talking. Alice herself doubted the young man could handle it. However, 9 confidently said they would see. He ran to the battlefield to start the duel. 9 swung his sword left and right, searching for an opening to wound Jotun, until he finally managed to graze its head on the left eye. He sneered at Jotun, who wasn't surprised at all by his attack. In that case, he would use beginner red magic, explosive firebolt, and was curious about its reaction. Of course, it was shocking for Alice and Emilia, who were watching, because Jotun could regenerate quickly. However, 9 seemed even more excited upon realizing that this monster was the real Jotun. His lips grinned widely, revealing his teeth, because that meant this creature was worth a tremendous amount of experience points. Jotun had truly transformed into another form, and 9 looked even happier. Alice and Amelia shuddered in horror. They weren't sure if this was the current IX Bandle. It was completely the opposite of the IX they used to know. Amelia covered her mouth in shock as she saw Nina's sword break, and the young man get flung away. The son of the Knight Commander had already anticipated that a secret boss-class monster wouldn't be defeated that easily. Blood was gushing from his head, flowing past his eye, cheek, and into his mouth. But 9 just laughed happily. Seeing 9 vomiting blood, Amelia immediately rushed to him, asking his condition. She also said she wanted to heal him. 9 immediately pushed her back if the saint really couldn't fight. However, even if she couldn't fight, she claimed she could save the young man. At the same time, Amelia extended her hand to use healing magic on IX, so the saint's spirit enveloped him. 9 was quite shocked. The pain and wounds all over his body were healed. He laughed while thanking her. His steps walked to the middle between Amelia and Alice. He would leave the support part to both of them. His hand pulled Alice's sword while asking permission to borrow it. 9 couldn't deliver a finishing blow with something ordinary. His attack power was just one step away. First, he self-suggested as usual. He declared himself the strongest villain in this world, IX Bandle, while burning Alice's sword, making its owner lament. 9 had no talent. His mana had increased thanks to suicidal training, but he had almost no control. The fire monster emerged boldly. The power he had also harmed himself. Therefore, 9 never tried using his full power. But now, he was with Amelia, the world's greatest healer. The fire he created blazed bigger because 9 raised the intensity. If he missed, they would all turn to ash together. Amelia gaped. IX then asked the female heroes to join him. The saint hadn't processed everything yet, but this was simple science. With green wind magic and red fire magic, they could add pure oxygen to maximize combustion. Amelia wanted a moment, but her hands still helped. Like sealing fire in molten rock, compressing it, trapping the temperature inside. The temperature reached over 6,000 degrees Celsius. Nina's hand reached out until he grasped something shining silver. Jotun flinched seeing it. The blinding light slowly faded until Amelia could see a shining silver sword. Like in the fairy tales she often read. She smiled because the hero she awaited had come. 9 claimed he didn't know why Jotun appeared so quickly. The monster then transformed into an even more terrifying form. This time, 9 used advanced color mixing miracle because it was time for Jotun to leave the stage. Then proclaimed blazing heat sort of fire militia IX Vance, and the magic shot fast and huge, stunning everyone. A massive explosion occurred, paralyzing Jotun until nothing remained of the battle. IX said he seemed to have overcooked the main course, with open fingers raised to the air then pulled back while grinning, as if very annoyed. Amelia and Alice gaped at his antics. Apparently, IX had shown off a bit earlier, and now felt awkward. He turned while pointing at the two women. The young man wanted them to look closely. That was his true power. Both just stood still without a word, even their gazes quite cold. IX, increasingly awkward, finally fled while saying see you later. Of course, Amelia and Alice still couldn't believe 9 Bandle had completely changed. Silesia was very annoyed and asked why IX didn't ask Saint Amelia to heal him. Both now sat facing each other. She accused the young man of wanting to look cool by hiding the side effects of the spell he used, when in fact, it looked stupid to the maid. Even while grumbling, Silesia still treated Nina's hand and carefully wrapped the bandage. Meanwhile, the young man just propped his chin while turning away pouting. The original IX envied Saint Amelia's popularity, while Alice was constantly harassed because 9 liked her, leading to Nina's only end, dying with Silesia. Thinking about that made the corner of his eye return to Silesia. The maid girl immediately snapped that what 9 would see staring at her so intensely was only a cute face, nothing more. IX released his hand that was propping his chin. He affirmed that Silesia was very cute. The girl was so shocked she stood up, her cheeks red like a tomato. She was embarrassed but vented it with annoyance, roughly tying the bandage tight and pulling it hard. If IX had the guts to say that, Silesia thought his injury might have healed by now. 9 screamed in pain from such treatment. Under the night sky, the dragon-carried carriage flew back across the Bandel family plantation to return home. Seeing Emilia silent since earlier, Alice felt the saint was thinking about 9. Meaning, the young man was kinda cool, but he had his exceptions. Emilia cut in saying Ix was their age, while her hands busily removed her head ornament. Then, Emilia shyly said they would meet him again at the academy. Alice immediately glanced at her confused. Apparently, Saint Emilia spoke stutteringly because she couldn't wait for their meeting at Khalid Lily Academia.